All right, I want to bring in our Gary Parrish, of course, listening along with us here, and some key things to take away from right there. Of course, getting a little emotional, but he said this was the first step with him stepping down to kind of continue to build the Villanova program. Cal Neptune in-house. He has the players, the program is good, and also the recruits as well. Your reaction to some of those words?
Well, that's obviously great news for Cal Neptune. You know, you see coaching changes so often in this sport, and a guy takes over, and by the time he's been introduced as the new head coach at a particular school, three of the players are already in the transfer portal, and two of the prospects have already decommitted. So it was interesting to hear Jay say he made that a priority to try to, before handing this off to Cal Neptune, make sure that he was going to be able to hand off something that is built to keep winning, not only at the top of the Big East, but at the top of the sport of college basketball in general. So, if you take Jay at his word, Cal Neptune should inherit a Villanova program that is going to bring back a lot of important pieces from a Final Four team and a recruiting class that's going to give them a chance to win a Big East championship in what will be Cal Neptune's first season back at Villanova.
We talk about some of the greats that have walked away in the past 2 years. We saw it earlier. Coach K, of course, this past season at farewell tour. We talk about others, of course, Roy Williams at UNC. Where does Jay Wright kind of fit in that picture? We're talking all the GOATs. We know the numbers there. We know we consider him one of the greatest. But where do you rank him among what he's done so far at Villanova?
He's an all-time great. A lot of men have won one national championship. The list who have won multiple championships is less than 20. So he is undeniably an all-time great. And to accomplish everything he accomplished, before even turning 61 years old, I think, the details matter. The context matters. There's no telling what Jay Wright could have accomplished if he decided to, like Mike Krzyzewski, coach till he was 75 years old. He retires with 2 titles and 4 Final Fours. What does that look like if he coached another decade? Is it 6 Final Fours and 3 national titles, or 7 Final Fours and 4 national titles? Obviously, we will never know. But the interesting thing about Jay Wright is that as accomplished as he is also universally respected and universally liked. We could go through a list of the all-time great college basketball coaches, and you would check off some names: Jim Calhoun, Bob Knight, Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, John Wooden. I'll speak broadly. Just trust me when I tell you, not all of those people are universally respected and universally liked. But Jay Wright is universally respected and universally liked, and I think that probably came through as you were watching that press conference. A lot of the people who were asking those questions are people who have known Jay Wright for years. I've been fortunate to get to know Jay Wright and have known him for years, spent time with him and his wife and his family, and been around him obviously in gyms and arenas, but also away from the court. And I can just tell you, I don't have a single bad word to say about the man, and I don't think you would find anybody in our industry who would have a negative thing to say about him.
I think everybody in that Big East conference, they like the fact that he will not be there in the foreseeable future when it comes to competing against the Wildcats. How does that change the dynamic of the conference? Because we do know there are other newcomers in there, but how does that change them competing amongst others in that conference alone?
Well, there's no getting around the fact that, for about the past 9 years, Villanova has been the dominant force in the Big East. Not quite like what Gonzaga is to the West Coast Conference, or Kansas has been to the Big 12, but pretty close to it. Again, over the previous 9 seasons, 7 Big East regular season titles, 6 outright regular season titles, and in the 2 years that Villanova didn't win it, Villanova finished second. So this clearly changes the dynamic of the league. It becomes more gettable, if you will. I'd be shocked if Cal Neptune is able to replicate that success over the next 9 years. And that's not to be taken as a slight of Cal Neptune. I would have been shocked if Jay Wright would have been able to replicate that success over the next 9 years. Dan Hurley is building something nice at UConn. Greg McDermott is running a really great program at Creighton. Ed Cooley has done a wonderful job at Providence. Shaheen Holloway has given people a real reason to believe at Seton Hall. There's a lot of talented coaches at programs built to flourish and succeed in the Big East right now. I would still call Villanova at this point the best program in that league. I believe that Cal Neptune is going to do a good job, but certainly in the absence of Jay Wright, that first place slot in the Big East standings is going to be more up for grabs than it's been for much of the previous decade.
Gary, before I let you go, he did mention there, look, he wants to visit the beach with his wife, of course, but he still likes the idea of hovering around the players, talking to them, hoping they still communicate with him, walking in the halls or whatnot. Do you think this is the last we see of Jay Wright on a sideline in the foreseeable future here?
I believe that Jay Wright believes that it is right now. I take him at his word. When his retirement was first announced, a lot of people pointed out that the Lakers' job is open. And what if Doc Rivers gets fired in Philadelphia? Could he be the next coach of the Sixers? None of that is in his plans. I believe Jay, and he acknowledged this, by the way, felt like the timing is right, in part, at least in part, because of the seismic changes in the world of college athletics, whether it's the one-time transfer waiver or name, image, and likeness rights. He said that his assistants were very good at dealing with that stuff, but he felt like rather than being a visionary in those spaces, he was just trying to keep up a little bit. So it was interesting to hear him say that did play a role in his decision to retire now. And he did mention the beach. And if you read some columns about him, a lot of really great ones have been written this week. But most of them mention he has a beach house at the Jersey Shore, a beach house at the Jersey Shore. Well, what is the point of having tens of millions of dollars and a beach house at the Jersey Shore if you are so consumed with your job, a demanding job like this job, that you can't even enjoy it? And I think that Jay, ultimately reached that place where the demands of the job became excessive, and there are still things he loves and still things he's going to miss. But, and this goes for a lot of coaches, not just Jay Wright, the not fun stuff connected to the job is starting to outweigh in some places the fun stuff connected to the job. And Jay Wright acknowledged that, and it played a role in him retiring 15 years before, say, Mike Krzyzewski retired. Circling back to your question, life is short. That's the cliche, and it's true. One day you got hair and babies, and the next day you've got kids in college and you're bald like me. But the days are long, especially when you don't have anything on your schedule. And so Jay's going to have to find something to do on a daily basis. Some of that will be playing golf and spending time at the beach and great quality time with the family. But there's a lot of hours to fill. And so I would not be shocked if one day he coaches again. I genuinely believe he does not believe he will on this day. But if we looked up in 2 or 3 years and Jay Wright decided he wanted to get back in, he'd clearly have an opportunity, and it wouldn't be the most shocking thing to me.
Well, he definitely has plenty of hair and plenty of sand in his future, as you just mentioned there. Gary Parrish, as always, appreciate you tapping in. Of course, Jay Wright speaking today, calling it a career. You can catch Gary along with Matt Norlander on the Eye of College Basketball podcast, breaking it down the emergency pod yesterday with Wright retiring after 21 seasons, 2 titles, Final Four appearances on the docket, and one of the winningest coaches in Villanova history and college basketball altogether. Just download and give them a follow.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.